What's up, Asian Hustle Network? You guys have inspired me to create more videos for the community. I think there's a lot of awesome conversations that's going on right now. The level of support and the level of vulnerability and just sharing like your story is pretty awesome. So yeah, wanted to share with you a little bit what's going on in my life. So just to give you guys the because I'm sure not everyone that's listening to this had watched my earlier video, but essentially, I'm going to be sharing with you how it was one of my biggest breakthroughs, and this sounds crazy to say, but was actually to be able to connect with like non-Asians, and more specifically like Caucasian people or WASP. So my journey was pretty interesting. I had so many odd jobs. I think I've had like over 22 jobs in my lifetime, whether it's like waiting tables or, part-time jobs as well. So this isn't all full-time jobs. But essentially, I've done everything from selling knives, Cutco knives, door to door, to knocking on doors, selling Verizon Fios. So definitely hustled my way to my job here at LinkedIn. And yeah, I would say I've only known sales my whole life. So, basically working harder, not necessarily working smarter. Also have a lot of now I'm actually getting support with my finances. That was a huge breakthrough for me. Thank you, Landmark. Appreciate all that coaching and self-development has helped me with a lot of things. But anyways, to talk about my career story, it was a pretty rocky one, I would say. I applied to so many different, I think I've applied to over 100 different jobs. I have literally have been to over 100 in-person interviews to try to hone my interview skills, try to get better at it. In the beginning, I remember I interviewed for this financial services company, and it was so funny. The guy was like who do you idolize? And I said Jackie Chan and Yao Ming. And I think now I could portray and articulate it in a much better way. But I remember back then, the guy gave me the look like, what the fuck? Like, most people say like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or something like that. And I think I wasn't able to portray how Jackie Chan broke into the mainstream and how he was essentially like equally as loved by non-Asians as he was by Asians, which is amazing. Like to be able to have that connectedness where you're impacting that many million lives, it's pretty inspiring. And Yao Ming, how he was obviously he was more popular in China, obviously, but in us Asian Americans, Yao Ming was like he was the guy like Ichiro Suzuki and Jeremy Lin. Um, but anyways, my point in sharing with you all this is that it hasn't been finding mentors was always tough, especially Asian American mentors, especially being in sales. Obviously the earning potential is huge, but a lot, most of the Asians I knew were in, accounting or law or medicine or more um, where where being good at school and memorization would be more valuable. The older I get, the more I realize that these soft skills and all these cultivating all these skills to putting together activities and getting people excited and being able to enroll people to come to your events and things like that is such a valuable skill. And I didn't really realize that until recently, but I digress. So the reason why I'm sharing with you why having a breakthrough in being able to connect with non-Asians was so valuable for me was because I mean most of the world is non-Asian, right? Like if you look at statistically, just in America, the bulk of people in America are Caucasian people, right? As of right now. So even if you live in LA or San Francisco, whatever, and you're surrounded by Asians, I think it's such a valuable skill to be able to connect to white people, right? But I did this self-development program called Landmark, where you hear people share their stories about what's going on in their lives, and at the end of it all, I realized that pain and suffering is a human experience, and that we all go through it. So even I remember I made up these stories about how like white people wouldn't able to be able to understand what it's like, having a mom as a refugee, like having a refugee mom and living off food stamps and being jealous because a lot of my white friends owned like shore houses and things like that. And I was just like, man, like I can barely even afford like these new Tims, right? It's like crazy. I remember trying really, really hard to fit in. There was a funny story about how I tried to wear this like wife beater thing like during cross country practice, and typically I'm like the only Asian guy in cross country. The majority of the people around me was white, and I remember like one of the guys was like, "Dude, like that's not a wife beater." I think it was like a thermo or something, like a short sleeve thermo or something. But I was so embarrassed. But anyways, and I remember like eating like Asian foods in the cafeteria and stuff like that. People are like, "Dude, that shit smells. Like, what are you eating?" Like all these embarrassing things. Um, but yeah, so I grew up like idolizing, listening to like Asian Korean rap, and like Asian rappers like Jin MC was like the man. I remember like I would listen to Freestyle Friday. I was like, yeah, that's right, represent for Asians, and I was like all about Asians. And then nowadays, I definitely still hang out with a lot of Asians, but it's definitely a lot more diverse. Like I don't only hang out with Asians now, which is great because like, I mean, it's such a huge breakthrough if you think about it, right? It's like out of like every single person you come across, whether it's like at networking events or, there's a lot of non-Asians out there in the world. So the point in me making this video is to challenge yourself to connect and be able to find ways to connect and find common ground with non-Asians, because I found personally for me that it's helped me out so much. And now I have the best of both worlds. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what your thoughts are. Connect with me on LinkedIn, search Davidson Hang, or check out my YouTube channel. You can search Davidson Hang, or my podcast, or my website, davidsonhang.com. Cheers. Love you guys.